Alright now y'all, what's up? It's Nate Almighty. Here I am yet again with another Raising Kanan Season 4 Theory and Prediction video. And you know what? I'm gonna take it there, okay? I rewatched the entire season of Raising Kanan. Season 3 for the third time. And you know what? Y'all better pay attention to Detective Tanner, because I'm going to explain to you guys how and why Detective Tanner has mafia connections, and he may even be the son of someone in the mafia. I will also explain why it's very particular, and we should pay attention to the fact that it was Detective Tanner himself who said something very important to Jukebox towards the end of the season when he was interrogating her. That could be a very subtle clue that Detective Tanner has mafia ties and is by blood related to someone of a high stature in the mafia, of whom I will name in this video. And thus, we will be looking forward to seeing Detective Tanner and getting to know Detective Tanner even more as a person in Season 4. And we will also see how it is Detective Tanner who is the person who gave Jukebox the initial idea to become a cop in the first place. As when we are introduced her in OG Power, she is already a cop and been a cop for some time. This video is going to be another banger. Without further ado, let's get to it. All right, now look. At the end of episode 10 of season 3 of Raising Kanan, we got Jukebox and the girls. They have their show. They kill it. They think Detective Tanner and his boys are some record label execs, but in fact, it's Detective Tanner who comes. He comes to talk to Jukebox to get some kind of information out of her, right? Now, this seems very standard within the Power universe, but let me tell y'all something that made me raise my eyebrows. Is when Tanner looks to Jukebox in particular and tells Jukebox, take it from me, from someone who comes from a fucked up family as well. You think you'll make a clean escape, but you end up still seeing the scars. Yes, I'm paraphrasing, but this is basically what Tanner told Jukebox. So now we have to ask ourselves now, which is the same thing that I asked myself. I said self. Myself said yes. I said, why is Tanner telling that to Jukebox? So then I get to thinking. I'm thinking, this clearly means that Tanner comes from a messed up family. And for whatever reason, he's seen that someone like Jukebox is somebody who is trying to live a productive life and live life along the straight and narrow. But clearly, because he has so much information on Marvin, and because he's beginning to know who Raquel Thomas is, he can see that Jukebox is somebody who's affected by her family and the sins of her family. And Detective Tanner felt like he could relate to Jukebox, even without us knowing his backstory, in which we will get to know in season 4. Without us getting to know his backstory, that already tells us that he comes from a messed up family. So you know what I did after that? First, I assume, I'm like, okay, so Detective Tanner, he has mafia ties. What I do is I go and look up, I go on Google, I say, hey, is Tanner an Italian name? No, Tanner is not an Italian name, but it is a British or an Irish surname. So I'm like, okay, we already know dealing with power. We got Tommy Egan. His last name is Irish. So that means in the 90s, right, the mob was running around. The mob was around, okay? We know that Tommy's father is running around. He's prominent around the Raising Kanan timeline. So then I began to think, I'm like, okay, if Tanner is not, and mind you, you got to stay with me because I will reveal who Tanner's father is, okay? If Tanner is not an Italian last name and it's an Irish last name, this leaves a possibility for Detective Tanner to be the son of someone in the mafia, but he either takes his mother's last name or his father's last name. So, if Tanner's mother was Irish, then that means his father was Italian, and we know how it is with Italians and Irishmen. Back then in them times, they did not see the other, right? Or they will find a reason to not consider the other to be good enough to marry, as the Irish will want to stay with the Irish and the Italians will want to stay with the Italians, okay? So, even if it's flipped the other way, you still have the scenario where the Irishman, who is Tanner's father, says, hey, I can't deal with you, right? You are Italian, right? These are the things that we need to be looking at. And I'm telling you right now, we are likely to find out that Phil Russo is the father of Detective Tanner. With Detective Tanner's mother being an Irish woman who was like probably the side chick of Phil Russo, with Phil Russo being married to an Italian woman. And then we will find out that Detective Tanner, okay, has spent his whole life being upset with his father not fully accepting him wanting to take down the bad guys, which is why we find him investigating the mafia. And what we will find out is that Tanner will find a reason to want to look out for his father, which we will then see Tanner become a dirty cop if he is not already a dirty cop. And when it comes to Stefano, if it's proven that Stefano is a snitch, Tanner will know. And Tanner will be the person, or could be the person, to tell Russo, hey, look, Stefano is going to snitch on all of y'all. I don't want to, you know what I'm saying? There might be a scenario where his mother may be in some kind of a grievance. She might have some kind of difficulties that only Phil Russo and the mafia can help. Or maybe there's a situation where Tanner's mother or someone close to him needs help, and then Rock comes into play, and Phil Russo still comes into play. All I'm saying is there's a specific reason why Detective Tanner chose to speak to Jukebox and say, I can tell you come from a fucked up family, but you will never be able to escape them. Is this because Tanner is forced to already work for his father but doesn't want to, even though he's enjoying some of the benefits that come with it? And thus, we will see Jukebox, who will, one way or another, find out who Tanner is, what his connections to the mafia is, and she will see how Tanner conducts his business, remains dirty, right? Never gets wrapped up for it. And with everything going on with Jukebox will end up going to the military. And when she decides I'm really giving up on music and everything, she will say, okay, what can I make a career as? I left the military. It'll be easier for me to become a cop. So now she will decide that I can't escape what's been going on in my family. I'm always going to be a product of this. So how about I just do what I want now? I'm going to do things like conduct robberies and use my badge to get away with them, as I've seen people like Howard and Tanner do. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Peace.
Can't teach that shit, nigga. Come on. That's God-gifted. That's touched by an angel. That's on the dome, nigga.